welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. If you've been here before, it's your girl Farida, also known as Curly Proverbs, and in today's video we are going to be taking your questions on a hair journey, especially as a new natural. I asked you guys over on my Instagram and I was inundated with questions. I'm going to try and select the ones that came up the most often, and yeah, let's just get into it. Okay, so Sugar Ray Vaughn actually asked me which cleansing products to use. Now, I'm assuming that you mean something other than shampoo. If you're looking for a good shampoo, I highly recommend the Giovanni Tea Tree Clarifying Shampoo. And in between that, you could use a cleanser such as Russell Clay, Ziziphus, also known as Sidr, or you could use Shikaikai. All of those work really, really well. I find that at the moment, my favorite is Russell Clay for making sure I have that definition and feeling like my hair truly has been cleaned. All of these ingredients, all of these herbs actually add nourishment and strength and like just an insane amount of nutrition to your hair, to your follicles. They're great for strength and they're great for definition, so definitely check them out. Okay, so I got a question from Christine M, and she says hair type 3A, 4C, etc., porosity, and an Ayurvedic routine for the hair type and porosity. I do feel, and I think that I was guilty of this when I first started my hair journey, I do feel that whilst there are some things that definitely work better for 4C hair and for, 3A hair, the principles are pretty much the same. I think that the porosity question, say for example, if you have high porosity hair, you don't need to use heat. But if you have low and medium porosity hair, I would definitely recommend that if you want to get the best out of your deep conditioner, use heat when you're applying it. That's pretty much all you need to know. It's really, really straightforward, and you could probably get away with not using any heat at all. For those of you who don't know, I am low porosity hair, which means that my cuticles are pretty flat, and sometimes it is hard to get hydration in, but I still manage to get massive benefits even if I don't use heat, because I'm a busy mum and I don't always have the time to do so. And as far as hair typing, I think that the principles are pretty much the same, but for example, if you have type 4 hair, you might find that you are benefiting more from using melted butters in your deep conditioner, or glycerin, for example. Those would be ingredients I would recommend if you are type 4. And type 3 down, I would say, again, the same sort of principles, but maybe you might find aloe vera juice and oils and honey might work best as additions to your Ayurvedic masks and glosses. But the principle of using glosses and rinses, it's the same no matter what your hair type. And I feel like it is good to be aware of how to treat your own hair type, but the principle of those benefits is going to be across the board, even if you have relaxed hair. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, so Famous in the Making, I love the handle. She says protective styles, particularly how long to keep it, how to oil and hydrate whilst in style. I suppose it depends on how you are doing the protective style. Is it going to be braids of your own hair? Is it going to be that you've tucked in your own hair? Is it going to be that you're going to be wearing a wig? I would say before you put in any protective style, you really want to maximize the strength and hydration before you go ahead and do it. I would highly recommend using the henna and aloe mask and putting in your pumpkin seed oil, putting in your honey, any favorite oils really, or even melted shea butter. Make sure your hair is hydrated from the butters and oils, and then you've got the strength from the henna and the aloe and the fenugreek. So you want to go in and you want to strengthen and hydrate. Then you want to rinse And if you need to detangle with a detangler to get all of the herbs, etc. out, a detangling brush, then go ahead and do so. Once you've done that, you need to make sure that you mist it down, maybe with some aloe vera juice. That really helps to seal down the cuticles and really to lock in your moisture, simply because of its pH. So then you've locked in all of your goodness, and you can go ahead and style. Some of the best styles to protect your hair in would be to braid or twist your own hair, and make sure that you oil the ends, maybe nightly. Castor oil is definitely one of my favorites. The elixir is definitely one of my favorites. And I just go in and I twist around the ends and just leave it. Put in my bonnet and go to bed and call it a night. You can leave it in for however long it takes for your hair to start to look a bit messy. And when you start to get the frizz building up, you're more likely to get tangles. So when it starts to get too frizzy, you just want to go ahead and take it down. Or that might be a good time to put on a safe wig, if you want to prolong the protective style. If your hair is in braids, then definitely leave the edges out, and definitely don't leave it till there's too much new growth, because that can cause pressure and that can cause breakage. That's if your hair is in braid extensions. Guys, some of your names are just hitting fierceness now. Tips for moisture retention and accelerated hair growth. Moisture retention: seal your ends, deep conditioning with a very nourishing hydrating conditioner, and going ahead and using castor oil or the elixir on the ends, doing a twist and tucking your ends, is a great way to retain moisture. I always found, right, that when you twist your hair, did you ever notice that the strands that are in the middle always stay super hydrated? So that's my favorite, and that's my go-to whenever it's like winter time and my hair is getting battered by changes in weather. I do love to do that. Best shampoo. Oh, and accelerated growth. Listen, MSM. MSM and fenugreek. MSM and fenugreek. That literally, there's nothing else to say. What products to use for a twist out? I would recommend using a flax gel, preferably one that's infused with an Ayurvedic herb such as a shikakai or amla or henna, and just going ahead and putting in your leave-in post-wash, and then putting on the flax gel and then twisting your hair. The hydration is crazy. The definition of the twist out is crazy. And of course, make sure you leave it till it's thoroughly and completely dry before you unravel the hair. Okay, I like to have a starter Ayurvedic regimen or routine like the calendar you made. Okay, guys, really great point here. There is a calendar with a minimalist, a medium commitment, and a high commitment regimen, both for your nutrition and for your actual use of henna in your hair or Ayurvedic herbs in your hair. Definitely check it out. I'm going to have that linked below. But that could be a place to start if you're trying to build your regimen, like, you know, the minimalist routine. Annadelle R asks, how long does the reddish tone of henna last in your hair? Does it turn darker with time? Now, I get questions about henna and hair color all the time. Yes, I use henna in my hair, but my hair is black, so it doesn't show as much. If you imagine that somebody tries to color their hair without brightening it up to blonde first, you're not really going to see the color that much. When I'm out in the sunlight and I'm outdoors, you can definitely see it more around the edges as a tint. That reddish tint actually builds up over time as you use it. It doesn't really diminish, only you trim the ends and it comes out. But over time, the more you apply henna, the brighter that tone becomes up until your limit point. And if you have blonde hair, if you have gray hair, then your hair is going to turn a sort of coppery color. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, Say says, can edges recover after not being natural for years? Yes, they can. Follicles aren't dead, but they need help though. Watch the last video on this channel, video before last. We kind of talk about getting your edges, reclaim them, girl. Definitely check out this video to answer your questions in detail. Okay, what are my thoughts on Shea Bay? Nikkei Gray, I believe you say Nikkei Gray. She asked, what my thoughts are on how to use it. I do have a video on several different ways to use Shea Bay. I'm going to have that link just here. I like Shea Bay. I think the only downside to a lot of the suppliers that I have come across, and I've tried a few, is that it tends to have much larger, less refined pieces. So like when you go to use it in your hair, it's much harder to wash out. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of, pretty much all Ayurvedic herbs need some real elbow grease to get it out sometimes, especially if you have kinkier hair. You know, you really need to go over with your detangler to make sure it's all rinsed out. But Shea Bay is just another level. So my tip would be either you maybe infuse it or you make a tea with it. This lady that I know, she used it in a mask, like, you know, the traditional way with grease, and twisted her hair. She said the kinks and coils in her hair started to come back. Her hair got tighter and thicker. She just left it in for like the week when she did a protective style. So yeah, I do rate Shea Bay. Nick, great. That's a really, really great question, and actually can be quite difficult to figure out for yourself. But I have to say, like, if you're taking really great care of your hair, you can definitely go for longer without having to trim your hair, and you also have to trim less off your ends. Before I started my hair journey, I think I just used to trim all way too often. I would say you do not need to trim more often than every 3 months, but you could push it to probably 6 months if you wanted to. And that would all depend on you really taking exceptional care of your hair, making sure your ends are tucked, they're not getting frayed by clothing. And along those lines, I also got a question asking, can you reverse split ends? No, baby girl, you just have to trim them. Oh yeah, that was literally the next question from Solange 390. Can you reverse split ends, or must you have a trim? It is my opinion that you just need to trim them, but you can repair cuticle damage to the surface of your hair, but if the strand is actually split, just cut it. So if, for example, you have cuticle damage, your porosity has changed, using something like henna will build it back up, and then you can actually reverse the damage to the cuticles along the strand with prolonged use. But if the hair is split, sorry sis, we gotta say goodbye. How do you find your porosity when you're first starting out? Grab a strand of hair, put it in some water. After 5 minutes, if it's sunk all the way to the bottom, you're high porosity. If it's in the middle, you're middle porosity. And if it's at the top, then you are low porosity, because it's basically not absorbing much water. Okay guys, like, I think this video is like crazy long at this point, so I hope you found that video to be helpful. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted questions over my Instagram. If you're not already following me over there, then what are you waiting for? Also, be sure to subscribe to our email list in the description box below, because when the next Curly Proverbs drop happens, and it's gonna happen, you guys are going to be the first to know. So definitely make sure that you are subscribed to the email list, because they have a habit of selling out, and I wouldn't want you to be left out. Okay, peace.